Hi folks, I'm Mark Baldino, a co-founder of Fuzzy Math. Fuzzy Math is the user experience design consultancy that helps enterprise and B2B software teams bring consumer grade UX to their products. And welcome to our UX Masterclass series, where we take many years of UX expertise from inside of our team and share it with the broader community. And I want to talk about an important problem. And that's in my experience, most teams evaluate UX success based on the number of deliverables created, not actual outcomes. That's a big problem because if you're only measuring what gets built, you're missing whether it actually makes an impact. A feature shipped doesn't mean a problem was solved. A beautiful redesign doesn't mean users are happier or more successful. But yet, all too often, UX is measured in things like screens designed, wireframes completed, or features launched, rather than how those efforts improved user experiences and business results. And so, why does this matter? Why is this an actual problem? Well, if UX is measured only by what gets done rather than how it performs, then UX becomes a cost center rather than a business driver. And when budgets are tight, what happens to cost centers? They get cut. The disconnect between UX design and business impact is one of the biggest reasons UX teams struggle for executive buy-in. If you can't show how UX contributes to retention, efficiency, or revenue, your work is seen as a quote, nice to have instead of a competitive advantage. But there's good news. UX can absolutely be measured in a way that proves its value, aligns with business goals, and strengthens product strategy. And in this session, I'll show you exactly how to do that. So how do we move from measuring UX by deliverables to measuring by impact? The answer is simple: change what you track, or start tracking things, but track the right things, and connect UX directly to business outcomes. We're going to break it down into a very simple 3-step framework that you can start using today. The first is define success in user terms. The second is measure what actually matters, and the third is tie UX to business metrics. Okay, so we're going to talk about step one: define success in user terms. Most UX teams define success in business terms: feature launches, sprint velocity, completion of a roadmap. But what does success look like for the user? And you can think about it this way: instead of saying we shipped a new dashboard, a user-driven success metric would be users can now find key insights 3 times faster. So an example: financial services platform redesigned its reporting tool. Instead of measuring how many new reports could be built or were built, they measured whether users could generate reports in fewer steps. This shift in focus to workflow led to a 40% reduction in report generation time and increased user satisfaction. And if you want UX to be seen as valuable, success must be framed around what the user is able to achieve. This brings us to step 2, which is measuring what actually matters. Defining success is great, but if you don't measure it, it does not count. As Peter Drucker said in the 50s, famously said, what gets measured gets managed. If we're not measuring the impact of UX, we can't improve it, justify it, or even defend it when budgets are tight. So to make UX measurable, you need to track not just what users do, but how they feel about it and whether they stick around. That means looking at both sentiment tracking and behavioral data, because UX success isn't just about features built. It's about how those features actually perform in the real world. And we have 3 methods I want to talk about that you need to use in conjunction or in combination. The first method is longitudinal sentiment tracking. So we're talking about long-term UX health. You need to understand how your users feel over time, longitudinal. Measure a baseline and then pulse, say quarterly. And this pulse is going to give you a sense of, is their experience improving over time or getting worse? And there's some ways you can track this: a CSAT score, customer satisfaction score, or a net promoter score. These long-term surveys help you gauge overall user sentiment. Are people happy with the product? Would they recommend it? The next method is in-app sentiment tracking, NIP, now in the moment pulsing. Instead of waiting for quarterly CSAT surveys, ask users in the moment after completing key tasks. A quick 1-question survey in-app. For example, how easy was this? Provides real-time feedback that UX teams can act on. So good examples: a B2B platform launched a new workflow automation feature. Their CSAT stayed flat, but their in-app sentiment scores dropped immediately after launch. And why was that? The feature introduced unexpected complexity. By catching it early, they iterated and improved adoption within a month. Okay, this brings us to our third method. This is behavioral UX tracking. Surveys are great for how people feel, but what really matters is what they do. Measuring UX means tracking real user behavior to see if our designs are actually making a difference. So there's 3 key behavioral metrics that matter most. The first is task success rate. Can users complete key workflow efficiently? If users keep abandoning tasks, there's a friction point that needs fixing. The second one is feature adoption. If you launch a feature, are people actually using it? They're paying for it. Are they using it? If not, maybe they don't see the value or the UX isn't intuitive. And then retention and churn. A great UX keeps people coming back. If retention drops after a redesign, it's a red flag that the UX may be contributing to churn. So, example, recent client had an enterprise HR platform redesign its onboarding process. Task success rates improved by 40% and adoption of self-service tools increased by 25%. Those are amazing metrics. This directly reduced support tickets. This directly saved the company both time and money. And that leads to our third step, which is tying the UX to business metrics. And this is a key part. UX doesn't just affect user experience, it affects the bottom line. You have to believe that, but you need to make that connection visible to your stakeholders. For example, if a UX change reduces friction in the checkout flow, that's just a better experience. It's higher conversion rates and more revenue. One B2B SaaS company reduced onboarding friction, which resulted in 20% fewer support tickets. That again directly translated to cost savings and a stronger business case for future UX investments. If you want leadership to see UX as a strategic driver, you need to track its impact on the metrics they care most about: customer retention, revenue, profitability. Okay, so to recap, start by defining success in user terms. 2, measure what really matters. And 3, make sure UX is directly tied to business impact. Now, think about your own product. What's one effort you've worked on recently? And ask yourself, how are you measuring its success? If you're still tracking deliverables or features launched instead of outcomes, now's the time to change that. If this resonates with you, let's talk. Drop a comment below or message me directly. I'd love to hear how you're approaching UX measurement in your organization. And thank you, as always, for watching.